Hey man, this is gonna be a good one right here, man. This is gonna be this is fun stuff. Believe it or not, this is fun stuff for me. So Stephen King, who is a quite often insufferable leftist online, more so on Twitter, had some interesting things to say, basically echoing what I've long said on this channel about the concept of diversity. He says, and let me pull up my deal real quick so this will work. So he says, I would never consider diversity in matters of arts, only quality. It seems to me that to do otherwise would be wrong. This guy, again, Stephen King, is insufferable, raging leftist online, on Twitter, and he had this to say. I don't know if he got hacked or what, but he's right. When you're right, you're right. When you're right, you're right. In matters of art, entertainment, and so forth, that should be what matters. Quality, merit, not trying to get a bunch of people that look different, which, and when it comes to the art, has, it's really the reason why you get a bunch of race changes and stuff like that, because people have these points that they're trying to gather, boxes that they're trying to check. And he says, only quality. I wouldn't either. Like diversity, look, when it comes to me measuring something from an artistic standpoint, entertainment standpoint, that is something that's completely put on the back. I don't care. And and when I say this, I mean that it doesn't matter. The quality of something in terms of if it makes sense for whatever narrative that you're trying to tell within the story has no bearing on it, right, is the diversity. If it is almost nearly exclusively white or exclusively black or exclusively Asian, the narrative calls for it, so what? There's nothing to gain there. I've said this on this channel, I don't know how many times. It is a gimmick. There's nothing to gain there from a merit standpoint when it comes to diversity. And then you got weirdos like whoever this guy is, being the insufferable white leftist that he is. Says, sir, respectfully saying you as a white man can't really say that. You had more advantages and opportunities than a person of color would have. They have been wrongfully held back in so many ways just because of their skin. Thanks for speaking up for all the black people like myself, David. We really needed your help there. Man, shut your weak ass up. And usually I wouldn't even say something like that in a video like this, but shut up. Nobody trying to hear that. About to caping, man. Golly. Oh, but when I say white leftists are insufferable, man, this is exactly what I mean. They are insufferable. This is the way they see themselves, right? Like, look at me. I'm gonna send this tweet off, and I'm gonna all the people of color, they're gonna congratulate me, and some of them have. Actually, this whole entire thread is filled with a bunch of wackadoodles that are upset. As a fan, this is painful to read from you. It implies that diversity and quality cannot be synonymous. Well, they really can't, because the one has nothing to do with the other. Look, diversity, and these weirdo blue check marks will never admit that. But diversity is just a thing. It's a side effect. I say this all the time. It is a side effect. It is just a thing that exists. It's neither good, it is neither bad. It's just diversity. And certain human affairs are going to have more or less in terms of what, diversity than others, because it calls for it. Doesn't mean there's some sort of wrongdoing or anything like that. That's just the norm. It's funny that people act like lack of diversity is representation in this equality concept, right? Where you have these equal amounts of people of different colors and ethnic backgrounds and gender or what have you. there is not a human affair that exists in which there is an equal amount of people of every different sector. There is not one human affair that exists. Yet these people like that are getting mad at Stephen operate under this moronic idea that, hey, if it lacks diversity, there's something wrong. That is not normal, bro. Human affairs are human affairs. And there may be certain human affairs that may have a more of a mix, but certain ones won't. And when it comes to certain talent bases, depending on, his culture or what have you, you never know. You may end up with something that lacks diversity. And just because it lacks it does not mean that the quality is bad. Just because it has it doesn't mean the quality is bad. It also doesn't mean that it's good. And that's what these, unfortunately, these weirdos, they operate under this idea that, well, diversity equals good. No, it doesn't. Diversity is just diversity. It's just a side effect. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. That is all it is. It's just a thing, man. It is just a thing. But these people act as if it's something to champion. And a lot of it stems from really massaging their own ego. I've talked about this in, numerous videos when I discussed the gimmick of representation and diversity, in which basically these people, these Hollywood elites or people that advocate for this, it's like they put the S on their chest, right? And they feel superior. They feel like they are worth something because they advocated or were advocates of, let's say, diversity. This is why they give themselves this sense of self-importance, right? Where they say, hey, look at this person, look at this black person. Because this black person's in this role, little Johnny black kid is going to feel inspired now. Like, that's the type of nonsense they instill in the kids, in which they essentially are saying that the only way you can relate to somebody is if they are the same race as you, but you rob them of their agency. This is why I say that diversity, representation, equality, these concepts are very, very dangerous in terms of what they instill in youngsters, because again, you rob them of their agency. You basically limit their agency to what it is here. That's it. And that's just not how it is. The analogy I use, like my neighborhood, I drive back from the grocery store. There are plenty of playgrounds within the neighborhood. Drive by, you will see kids of different races out there having a good time. When I was a kid, same way, right? When I was more so in daycare, not in my regular school. In regular school, we lacked the diversity, believe it or not, but when I was in daycare. Because these are concepts we don't understand. We don't care. It isn't until we are taught that these racial, these concepts of race and all of this stuff, and that's when it's instilled. It's a learned trait. Racism is a learned trait. This hyper-emphasis on race is a learned trait. This is not anything that kids value right out the get-go. They don't, because they'll play with anybody. They don't care. It isn't until you weirdos teach them that where they start prioritizing it and feel like, well, now I got to feel inspired. I feel inspired because I saw somebody that looks like me. Again, it's just they give themselves this bit of self-importance. Like, yes, Hollywood elites, you weirdos are who my kids should be looking to and being inspired by. And these fools want hand-me-down characters and race-swapped characters, or they want gigs and they want jobs just because they are of whatever minority group or marginalized group, as they would say. That's insulting. I would never want a gig like that. I wouldn't want no gig. You're going to give me a gig because you're trying to check a box. Affirmative action, right? Because you're trying to check a box. So basically saying you're not good enough, but man, well, just because we want to look good, here we go. Here's the position. Even though there's more people that are way more qualified than you are to fill this position. Give me a break. Stephen, you're correct. You're wrong on a lot of other things, but this one you are 100% correct on, my brother.